Welcome to Joy of Business with host Simone Milasas, a dynamic business leader with a difference. Simone has founded and operated many businesses from a young age and has always done business differently. Today, Simone is the worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness and travels the world presenting Joy of Business programs using access tools and empowering people to know that they can create business in a different way and make money doing it. Simone Milasas, weekly on OMTimes Radio.
Hi everyone, welcome to Joy of Business. You're with Simone Milasas on OMTimes. And today I'm joined by my wonderful, wonderful friend, Katarina Wallentin. If you say your name correctly in Swedish, I call it Wallentin, but that's being an Aussie. So welcome, Katarina. How do you name in Swedish?
We do pronounce it more fun, but Valentine's Day, I was like, whoa.
19, told everyone I was going for 6 months and left for 3 years. And it's like, but, you know, it wasn't considered a great choice. It was sort of considered this, you know, what was judged or projected at me was I was, you know, fickle and I couldn't settle down and I didn't, you know, all this sort of stuff. And it's like, but I kept going. I kept choosing what I wanted to choose.
And it's funny because we do get, like, I have a father who is a researcher, like he's a cardiologist, but he does research work and he's brilliant at it. So what I learned from him is this constant looking for something different. And it's probably not what he intended to give me because he's very scientific and but what I did learn from him is this constant, like, nothing is actually the way you think it is, because if you do some research, it's all going to change, and nothing we know is actually set in stone, because if you look at it a little closer, it will change. So I learned something from my dad that I don't think he ever expected me to learn or even thought that he was teaching me. And for me, that is creation. For me, the creation is actually even creating a new reality, a new way of looking at the world. So you meet people in your life that has this capacity. They have a capacity of creating for you a way of looking different in the world. They're actually creating like a doorway to something different. Now that's actually a genius. They are often very strange and weird, and people look at them different, but there's something about this where you know what's true for you. So creation can even be that. It can be just creating something so different that it allows somebody else. Does that make sense? Like, it allows somebody else to see that this is too possible.
Yeah, it does. I love that, constantly looking for something different, because as you're talking, it's like, you know what, if you think about nature, and it's like nature never creates itself the same as something else, you know, like one flower to another flower, one branch to another branch, one leaf to another leaf, even one bird to another bird. And it's like they don't, you know, they may have similar capacities or similar, you know, traits, but they're different. And it's like, I think that constantly looking for something different without also making that the place that you have to. It's like just enjoying the journey, the adventure of discovering what is different, what can you find that's different. And I love the way you said that, you know, everything changes, because everything does change. Nothing ever looks the same as it did yesterday.
in that very, you know, when we talk about creative genius, I used to have classes called Create and Die, or Create or Die, not Create and Die. That would be very sad. Genius. Like, we have it's such a limiting word, genius, but if you look at it completely different, if you turn it all the way around, everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Genius. It's really where you something, and we're going into music. So
we are going into a break, so we'll be back soon.
We'll be back soon. I'm creating a break.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Matt Connerton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connerton Unleashed, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connerton Unleashed, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness and action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Joy of Business. You're with Simone Milasas and I'm here with my friend Katarina. And we're talking about unlocking your creative genius. So, and because this is a Joy of Business radio station too, not radio station, show, it's like I wanted to see if we could sort of tap into some of the places of unlocking your creative genius with business. Now, I have two processes here that I would love to run. These actually came from Dr. Dain Heer during a class he did in Florida called Energetic Synthesis of Being. And Dr. Dain will be on the show soon talking about being you in business, which I'm very excited about. In June, I think. So, because one of the things I noticed is that, we look at our parents as this role model for how to be basically in life, how to be everything. And it's like, I'm a step parent now, you're a mother, Katarina, and there's no rule book. You don't get a place of this is the right way to do it or this is the wrong way to do it. It's like every moment is a choice. And it's like, and you do become an authority in your child's life. So what if you could become an authority that gave them choice and gave them that place to unlock their creative genius and to empower them to know what they know and to be them in totality? It's like, what would that look like? So these are two processes which just hit me between the eyes when someone gave them to me. So let's start with this. What stupidity are you using to create your father as the role model for business are you choosing? And everything at that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And what stupidity are you using to create your mother as the role model for hating business are you choosing? And everything at that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, again, with these processes, you can go to theclearingstatement.com or go to my website, accessjoyofbusiness.com. to find out more about it, but they're basically change any area of your life that you think is not working for you. It's, going to the point of creation, the point of destruction of when you sort of chose these limitations as the place to be stuck rather than being you. I look at that and it's like, I grew up with my dad who was, he was at work from, 7 a.m. till, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And it's like if I chose him as a role model, then I would have to work all day and all night sort of thing. And it's like 7 days a week. And my mother always said that we weren't allowed to talk about business, at the dining room table. So it's like then, she would, it's interesting how a parent can perpetrate their point of view upon someone. And if you didn't have that, what would you choose? So everything at that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So let me run them one more time. What stupidity are you using to create your father as the role model for business are you choosing? And everything at that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And what stupidity are you using to create your mother as the role model for hating business are you choosing? And everything at that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So you can just put them on a loop and start listening to them and things will start to change for you.
Definitely.
So,
no doubt.
Katarina, do you have some, a few pragmatic tools that people can sort of start to unlock their capacities, whatever that may be? Because that's the thing I get is this is not about now you can write a book or now you can paint a picture. This is huge. This is your life.
Yeah. No, cool. Yes, I do. I do. Well, and these tools really work also when you're creating a business. I mean, it's the same thing. Let me start with one that actually really kind of changed my world when I heard it. So, would you be willing to consider that there's a difference between awareness or input? You know, when somebody tells you what they think about your idea and
Yes.
what they think about what you could do, what you could choose. So the difference really between somebody giving you their awareness and their input is that input has this enormously value to it. It could be good. Like they could be going, you have the greatest idea in the world. And in their head, you hear all the things that they would like to attach to that, or they would like to be part of that, or they would like to, or they go, well, this is not, I don't know how to say this, but really, why would you even choose this? So the input has a judgment to it. It basically has a value, and it sticks you in that person's universe. It actually, you get dragged in there, and you have to either resist and react or align and agree. While information or awareness has no charge. Information that somebody gives you, well, you have this idea, this is what I heard recently about the same thing, this is what I'm experiencing when I've tried this, whatever that is, it actually leads to awareness. Information has no point of view. So if you were willing to function from the willingness to ask for more information and more awareness instead of continuously, which we've been taught to do, asking for validation of our ideas or validation of what we're going to do next, or validation of the next step. Does that make sense? What if you were willing to function from a completely different space where you're willing to receive any information about it, but we're willing to disregard any input that comes with the judgment?
So, Katarina, what do you do in a situation like that? You know how people always say, don't tell anyone your ideas because then, they'll steal it or they'll do this. And it's like, so, and then there is a difference between someone who gives you the awareness and someone who gives you input. So what do you do with that to not be affected by it?
And thank you so much for saying that. That's so interesting, because that is the advice a lot of people give. Like, you shouldn't tell people about your ideas because, they'll crush them or they'll steal them.
And you're enthusiastic and busting to tell somebody.
Yeah. And the funny part about that is what happens then is that you created a secret, right? And then everybody wants to try to see what you're creating. So I would say that to clearings, so since you're running clearings, I would actually ask, what stupidity am I using to create the value of input and judgment I'm choosing? Like actually looking at, starting to ask, is this information or judgment? Is this, whatever, actually starting to ask by the question that gives you the information that you need, what you're dealing with, basically what you're dealing with, and then what stupidity am I using to create the value of this, whatever input, judgment I'm choosing? Because if you have that tool, you're actually willing to receive everything. And when you're trying to avoid telling people about your ideas, you're basically not willing to receive everything that can come to you, which could be information. Does that make sense? Like you're hiding behind the walls of, I'm going to protect my idea. I'm not going to tell anyone because it's so brilliant that I know it's going to change the world. And you're not telling anyone. And what happens is that you also are not available to receive the information that could make that idea greater, that could contribute to that idea, that could pull people in, that could actually give energy to it and make it go, woo, and explode into the world.
So, Katarina, you touched on something there too, and I just want to tell everyone, it's like the processes that we're running with the what stupidity are you being, we're not saying you're stupid. It's the place that you have the unawareness, right? And the process that Katarina ran, it's like, can you talk a little bit more about because I see where it's like making somebody else's point of view more valuable than yours. Now, there's a fine line between sort of being willing to receive all information and then choosing. Like, one of the things I talk about in business is, I used to think every lawyer and accountant had the answer until I realized they didn't. And so now what I would highly recommend is go speak to every accountant, go have a consultation with another accountant, so a financial a financial person to assist you, another lawyer, whoever you need to speak to, and you will know that energy when something is correct for your business. So it's like, what's the difference between making, because it's sort of like I see, it's almost like that place of giving up. Once you make somebody else's point of view more valuable than yours, where you're actually heading. Like, imagine if Albert Einstein did that and went, oh, you know what, this is not going to work. They said it's not going to work, so I better stop. And it's like all of these great, inventors, etc. So how do you change that? What's the difference?
Well, actually, anyone who has a different idea, it's a great example, and it would probably go for so many inventors in our world. I would say that you usually know. I'd like to give you the other side of that clearing in a minute. But I would like to say that you usually know, because it makes you happy. When it kind of really makes you want to throw up, usually. It's this weird energy that comes up. And I don't know how much you talked about this on the radio show, but it's strangely how much we know when something somebody tells you has a judgment attached. And when it's actually coming from this space of, oh, I have this information, would you like it? Now, I think actually, if you look at it, you always know. You always know when the information comes with an agenda, with a judgment, with some kind of things, and it's like it gets back heavy. It wants to fall over and get out of your space. Well, when it has no point of view and no judgment, it's like it glides through, you notice it, but it also goes straight out your other ear, kind of. It's a different energy. And I get that may sound a little airy-fairy, and yet, I would say even my daughter, who's 12 years old, would know that there are different comments. Like that some of them she would get stuck in, and some of them are not as sticky in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, look, I think it's a great description. And I've got to say, I mean, you and I have been using Access Consciousness tools for a long time now, so it does make our life a lot easier. And one of the tools in Access, which Katarina is sort of mentioning, is if something feels heavy, it's usually not correct, okay? And it's like if something feels light, it's usually right, is what we say. And it's like even if you get, like an invitation to a party, it's like look at it for the simplicity of things. You get an invitation to a party and you're like, oh, yeah, that feels great. Yeah, I'd love to go. I'm really excited about it. Or you might get this like clunk, like that feeling of heaviness or whatever that is. And it's like, okay, ask a question. Okay, so what is this? And it's like, will this party be fun for me? Or it's like, will this create something different for me? Or ask a question to have more awareness, because all of these Access Consciousness tools are about you gaining more awareness and more choice for you, not buying into other people's points of view. And one of the things I'm so incredibly grateful for is the willingness to actually follow what I know. It's like follow the energy of what you know, not based on somebody else's point of view. So we're heading off to a break because we've got funky music going on, and we'll be back really soon.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Live with medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Joy of Business. You're with Simone Milasas and I'm in Peregrine Beach, Queensland, Australia, and I've got Katarina in Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden, to far end of the world. It's a big, big flight to go to Sweden from Australia, that's for sure. So one day we'll be able to click our heels and just go there like Dorothy did in Kansas. Getting creative. So interesting, Katarina, when I talk about creation, it's like I'm always putting it back into business, obviously, joy of business. But to me, like I've always said, it's like, you know, business is one of the most creative places you can be, because to me, it's like so malleable. You can change anything. You can, just because you start a business doesn't mean you have to stay with it. It can, you know, you can add people. You can, you know, I mean, last night I was what this reality, I guess, would have called sort of stressed. And I was like, all night I kept going, who or what else can I add to the business? Who or what else can I add to the business? Like I was waking up at like 2 a.m., you know, got up at 4 a.m. this morning going, who or what else can I add to the business? Now, that's a question and it's a tool to use to actually add more rather than that place of where you start to, you know, give up, quit, contract, you know, not be the creative genius that you be, because it's like I have a lot on my plate right now, but instead of like choosing what, you know, that stressed and emotional, what most people in this reality do, there's other tools that you can use to get out of it. So my tool all last night while I was sleeping, I also kept saying the mantra of access, which is all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory, which is, you know, the good, the bad, and the evil, all of it. It's like all of life comes to you with ease, joy, and glory, and asking who or what else can I add to the business. So, Katarina, you have a couple more tools that you'd love to share with people to get to that place of unlocking their creative genius. So where do we start? What have you got?
Well, I think that night was brilliant, because one of the things that I wanted to bring up, and these are very basic tools. I mean, we do have tools that go on different levels and more specific, but some of the basic tools really do change everything. And the thing with this is, where are you functioning from? Like what you were functioning from last night was the question. You were actually willing, even though everything felt like it was caving in on you and you were having all these points of view that you were stressed and all of that, you kept asking the question. And that is, what if you were willing to actually do that and function from the question and not the conclusion? I would say that my creation, I think I always had a inclination to be in the question. Like, not inclination, that's probably the wrong English word. Like if my, the way I function would probably be generally from the question if I was just looking at myself as a kid. But what you learn in this reality is that you should kind of try to find out the conclusion, and that's where you should function from. So I had to kind of unlearn that. And one of the things I used a lot was that every day when I woke up, I would uncreate and destroy all my conclusions, all my work, all my projects, basically, all my relationships to people that I worked with, all my relationship to clients, all my relationship to my ideas, everything I bought about my ideas being great and awesome, and I should really create them. all of that every morning, I will uncreate and destroy.
So what do people do with that? So they destroy and uncreate all of their ideas, everything that's being projected at them, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all named shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you can't remember the whole clearing statement, it doesn't matter because it's about the energy. You can just say everything that Simone or that Swedish lady said on the radio station, or just say pock and pot to make it easier and quicker, because it's about changing the energy.
And it really is. And it really doesn't matter the words. The main point is really that it's not about destroying the projects. It's not about destroying relationship. It's actually about destroying everything you bought about them that was right. Everything you kind of attached to them about them being the solution, them being the right thing, them being what you should do. Because every time you do that, you actually kind of get yourself locked into the box of rightness, and you cannot. Remember what we talked about before, all the information that was able to come to you if it didn't have a point of view. Now, if you're in that little box of the conclusion of this idea of mine is going to be the solution of my problem, this little idea of mine is going to create so much money that I don't need to work anymore. This little idea of mine is the thing that will change everything. Now, if you have that conclusion, you're not going to hear any other information. And that includes the information of making that idea greater. That includes the information of like tweaking it so it actually will work. That includes the information that you will need to get to actually bring this whole idea out in the world. And it includes the information that is like a really dumb idea that you should have, gotten rid of a long time ago before you ate that poisonous, plant and died. So
I love what you've just touched on there. I just wrote this process. I'd like to run this because it's so, yes. You're so correct when you said about is your creation right? And so many people, like that initial, we call it the generative energy. And it's like that generative energy of where you get that light bulb, aha moment. And then it's like that initial, that's the creative moment. And then I see so many people try and conclude or figure out how it's going to bring them in money or figure out something else, or is it right? Will people like it? And all of that sort of stuff. And none of that is going to add to the creative juice that you be. So what have you decided is so valuable about your creation? Excuse me. What have you decided is so valuable and right about your creation that keeps you from infinite greater possibilities? And everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So if you're listening to this, it's like write it down, I'll run it again. But the thing is, it's like if you've decided that there's something so valuable about it and there's something so right about it, then it's like, I talk about like, with horses, when they're horse racing and they have blinkers on so that all they can see is what's in front of them. They can only see that end gate, that conclusion, rather than you would, what else or who else can you talk to? Which is a question. It's like, what else can you receive? What other greater possibilities are available? So what have you decided is so valuable and right about your creation that keeps you from receiving infinite greater possibilities? And everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. Okay, one more time because it's got so much energy on it. What have you decided is so valuable and right about your creation that keeps you from receiving infinite greater possibilities? And everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I think that's the difference between like why I wrote Joy Business Book is I don't see business as right. It's like there is no day that you go, well, I got it right today. It's like, no, you just create. It's like, and money shows up when you do, and it's being aware of money as well. It's not sort of, avoiding that or ignoring it. It's like the awareness of everything around you and every single thing that can add to what you are creating.
And there is something, if you decided that I did it right this day, what would happen the next day? That's this was my right day. And then that's what people go to. Well, I have to walk up and I have to go down to the ocean. I have to swim 5 strokes into the ocean and then walk up backwards. And then maybe if I kind of take this little round around my house, I will get it right today as well. What if it looks different every single day? I mean, I know for you, Simone, it looks different every single day.
Well, we're never in the same place long enough to make it look the same every day, that's for sure. So, and right is based on a judgment. And it's like, so what if you had no judgments about your creation, about you and creation? So everything that is, and all the judgments right now, can we destroy and uncreate it, which is the tool that Katarina gave, destroying and uncreating, like the relationship you have with you, your business, your creative ideas, all of it, getting rid of all those judgments, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What if you were never wrong? And what if you were never right?
And there's a weird sense of freedom in this that it took me a long time to get. Like the fact that I could actually uncreate and destroy my projects, my ideas, my dreams, my clients. Like that part for me was so strange because I've been taught to keep them close, to nurture them, to take care of them, to, and this funniest part of this, they're not opposite. It doesn't mean that I don't take care of them. It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate them. It doesn't mean that I am enormously grateful for every single idea I have, all the clients, all the people that I work with, but all the things that I attach to it, like all the significance or limit, not actually, I would say I attach significance, I attach rightness or wrongness, I attach all these different things to all of these, that actually stops them from expanding. That's why I uncreate and destroy all my conclusions about it, all my judgments about it. I don't do it. I do it to create more space for them to bloom. That's the only way I can describe it. And it's amazing to me to do this every morning. I've done it for years now. It's one of the greatest gifts I got from Access, that I started to uncreate and destroy all of this every morning. So it may sound like it is a destructive thing, and for me, it's a creative practice, if that makes sense.
Totally creative. And I'm really grateful because it's 6:43 a.m. for me this morning, and I've been up since 4, and I've still was like, what tools can I use? And I'm like, I love this. It's like destroying and uncreating everything that I, thought was right and true or thought was real and true, because nothing is, it's all, judgment is not real. Okay, so judgment is not real. If you had no judgment, it's like, what would you create? Now, it was funny using the words last night when I was like, I feel stressed. And I'm like, okay, I know that stress doesn't have to be a reality that I choose. Yet somewhere I think it was fun for me to sort of go, I feel stressed. Okay, and one of the things we talk about in Access too, it's like when you use the word feeling, I feel, have a look at how much you lock that into every pore and part of your being and body, rather than it's like the sense of it. So it's like, okay, I have a sense that there's a lot going on in my life right now and a lot of demand that is required of me right now and a lot of, things on my to-do list. Okay, so what questions can I ask? What can I do here to create more ease in my world? So that's why, like I said last night, I kept running, who or what else can I add to the business? And running the mantra, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. So there's always something different you can choose. So we're going to go off to a break, and we're going to finish off with another tool from Katarina and hopefully get you into your creative genius.
Yay!
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Welcome to The Gathering Around My Kitchen Table on Equilarium FM, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join my guests as we integrate spirituality into everyday reality with vibrant conversations, inspired interviews, and my latest channeled guidance to inspire and brighten your day. I'm Claire Johnson, and together we'll be raising vibrations across the nations.
If you remember living fearlessly, joyfully, and in a world filled with adventure, happiness, pleasure, and unbridled living, then this show is for you. Join me, Dame Nicole Brandon, as I bring you the world's top experts in wealth, creativity, flow, seat-edging technology, space, wellness, health, love, lust, and passion, all merging together each week here at the Hub of Happiness. Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Passionate Living, where you can ride on the magic carpet ride of living and learn how to lead a passionately wild, exciting, and outrageously amazing life.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Joy Business on OMTimes. I was just reading someone's Skype and they were saying that the line is not very good, that they can't seem to hear us very well. Damn, because we've got such good stuff to say. So I just wanted to mention before the end of the show, so I'm not rushing in that last minute, is I've actually got a Google Hangout tonight. It's Queensland 6 o'clock time, so it's about 11 hours from now, and you can go to my website, accessjoyofbusiness.com, and you can find out, you can sign up for the Google Hangout and watch me and a lovely lady, Jennifer Randive, in Dubai, because I'll be heading off to Dubai to do some Joy Business classes. So now, Katarina, I just wanted to check with you too. People can find you on the accessconsciousness.com website if they look up Sweden and find a facilitator and Katarina Wallentin, but it's spelt with a W. So Wallentin. So, and you've got, if you got a class coming up soon, you've got a teleclass coming up soon?
Well, actually, I gotta thank you. They will probably find, if they search on Katarina Wallentin and think of Valentine, they'll see me. And I do have a class coming up in Stockholm, but I am actually about to post a telecall series. So you just go in there and check in a couple of days. I'd like to explore this more globally, because even though Stockholm is kind of global, you could come there in September and meet for 2 days. Now, if you can't, I was thinking that I'd like to explore this whole subject more with people globally all over the world. And this is basically going to be part of a book creation for me. So I would love if you all came on and joined me and explored this with me. So this is my invitation to you to be part of co-creation of this book.
Nice. And you're also available for private sessions too, correct?
Yes, I am available.
Awesome. We had Susanna Mittermeier from
Sweden.
Sweden.
Information on the Access Consciousness site.
Awesome. I was just going to say, we had Susanna Mittermeier on the show the other day, and we were talking about pragmatic psychology, and that most people sort of go to a psychologist to find out what's wrong with them, but she more functions from what's your capacities, and she got someone ringing her straight away for a session. So I thought that was great, that people actually wanted to find out what their capacities are, which is a little like what you're doing. Yes, so it's like, let's get to it.
It is, and it's probably very different. Well, it's funny because I would say that in so many ways that it is a similar thing, because you're looking at what's actually right about you, and you're looking at what's right about your creation, and you're looking at, and that is one of the things that Access Consciousness is so different. It's one of the few things I ever encountered that did not focus on what's wrong with you. And everything I tried before this was, what's wrong with you? How can we change it? And this is the first time where really where somebody started to look at, okay, what's right with you? What's your capacities? What do you actually know? So just if you've been kind of frustrated by continuously looking at your own garbage and crap, there may be something else available. And it leads me into, I actually had a couple of things here in the break. I was looking at what could you ask to find your genius? But I wanted to bring one thing up before that. I wanted to bring up the difference between choice and necessity. Because I just so get that this is one of the things we all do. So we if anything in our life is something that is a necessity, somehow the choice goes out the window. Does that make sense? So if you have kids and you know it is literally necessary to take care of them, somehow you think there's no choice in that anymore. There's no choice in how you do it, in what you do, in how you create it, and how you create the situation, because it's a necessity. But when that necessity kicks in, you literally will, what is it called? Like reject it. You don't want to be there. You want to go away. You want somebody else to take care of that darn child that you don't want to take care of. So what if there is something different available? What if you always had choice? And this is the part where creation really gets stuck. As soon as your creation goes into a necessity, as soon as you have to do something, as soon as it's necessary to do something, it takes it out of that space of choice and into the necessity, which is an unwillingness and the resistance and reaction, which kind of stops all creation.
And it creates the stress.
Yes.
So I was choosing. I love it because, you know, Katarina and I use these access tools all the time, and it's like every now and then we need to be reminded that there is about 8,000 of them, and it's like,
yes.
you know, or more. And it's like, what tool can we use today? And it's like, that's great, because it's like, okay, everywhere that I've made my day a necessity rather than a choice, I'll destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds, and keep running that. Like, keep running it. Everywhere that you've made your today, your business, your money a necessity, destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I remember I did a class one day, Katarina, on money being not a necessity, you know, is money a necessity? And it just flipped people's worlds around, because they're like, yes, but money is a necessity. I need to pay my rent. I need to pay my bills. Yeah. And it's like, no, but that's a choice. It's like the only difference between someone homeless and you living in a house is choice. It's like you can create a different reality.
And the funny part is, even having necessities is a choice. So even asking, what do you make it valuable about having all these necessities? Like, that's part of we grown up with, that we need to have necessities, like money, or having, like, that whole part is part of what we're creating, that is limiting us in finding what we're truly capable of, and probably is limiting us in finding what our true genius is. Because if the necessity, for example, is to make money, how willing are we to look at everything we're actually talented as, that we're actually capable of? Because if the necessity is creating money, we're actually not seeing all these other things that may not look like they're making money. Does that make sense?
Because money can show up in the future by a choice that you make today. But if you make that every choice you make today has a necessity of bringing money in, then you've just cut off about a zillion possibilities that can show up. So it's like POC and POD, everywhere that you've decided money has to be the answer to every choice, every creative choice that you make. And everything that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. It's like a simple question of, what choices can I make today? What choices are available for me today? And it's like, start with that and see what shows up, and don't make it about, like, if you make something about money, it'll always be about that. So it's like, you make it significant. Anywhere that you make anything significant, it will start to control your life, your business, your money flows, your relationships, your sex life, everything. Rather than actually, I mean, what about if you unlock your creative genius in your sex life? Have you? What would that look like? I mean, rather than going, okay, so this is the way we have sex, this is the way we do it, this is the way it's done. It's like, next time be like, okay, so what creative capacity do I have here in sex? What creative capacity do I have here in relationships, in business, in money, with my body, with all of it, with my kids, with my friends? And everything that doesn't allow that to show up, destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds.
In one of the things that I learned I think it was a foundation, like a very early core class of Access, was this kind of like, I expanded on this question, but what is so easy for me that I can't even imagine that anyone would notice it, validating it, acknowledging it, or paying for it? And what would change if I was willing to acknowledge that in totality and step into being it?
Oh, I love that. And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive it, destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyond. It's like that, what most people find, so incredibly easy, they think has no value.
Yeah.
And that's usually what you can make money from. That's usually, I mean, Katarina, you write incredibly well. And it's like, yeah. I'm so glad that you're going to put a book together, because you should. So it's but like, so what?
The funny part about that is that I actually never thought I would. This is the funny part. It was too easy. It's too, I thought it was bland or not very special. This is what we do with our talents. So everything that is, everywhere we're making our talents bland because we recognize them, because we've seen them before, because we've seen them since we were born. Can we uncreate and destroy all of that?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, Papa, line, shorts, boys, and beyond.
So, Katarina, we're almost finished for today. I've had lots of fun. Thank you so much. What can we leave people with here today? What's another tool, another quick couple of questions to get people unstuck and start to actually create from what they know?
Well, since you said that, so I would actually ask, what do I know that I never, ever acknowledged that I actually know?
Nice. Because you know everything. And one of the things in Access Consciousness that we talk about is the next time you say, I don't know, stop. Now, it could be about anything, okay? It could be like, well, I don't know anything about engineering. It's like, okay, stop. And just take a moment and go, oh, what do I know? What do I know about this? Because what if you could access everything that you've learned, not just in this lifetime, but any lifetime? And what if you knew way more than what you've been willing to acknowledge? You don't have to go to college and get a degree to know something. It's like, I mean, Dr. Dain Heer, who's our friend, I remember years ago he used to take photos, brilliant photos. And then he decided he had to go to photography school. And it's like, no, you don't have to go to photography school. They're brilliant. So what are you brilliant at that you could be accessing right now, right today? So thank you so much, Katarina, for joining me. And I look forward to you coming on again.
Bye.
Bye. This is Simone Milasas on Joy of Business with Katarina Wallentin.